So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Tuesday, October the 12th, 2021, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us, and we'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And Michael is out and about. He said he would dial in for the show, so I'll give him a moment to get dialed in. And I'll invite you to go to our website, which is whyagain.org, WHYAGAIN.org. And press, you can go up to the Start Here button in the upper left corner, or you can scroll down and press the red bullseye in the middle of the page. Both of those will take you to where you'll find audios and videos and all of the worksheets for all of the workshops, and just lots and lots of information. I am presently working on the catalog, the shop, and that's going to be totally changing. So right now it's a mess. So if you go to purchase something, then maybe drop me a line because it's probably going to take me another day to get that completed. My dad has a doctor's appointment immediately after the radio show, so I'm going to be taking him there, and I ask you to hold the space because his blood work came back with some pretty erratic stuff in it. We'll see what the doctor has to say about it. So if you'll hold the space for that, I would appreciate it. And there's a lot of people on the switchboard today, so if somebody has a question, press 1 and let's talk. And Michael hasn't dialed in yet, so we'll give him a little bit longer. And I was talking to someone the other day, and they didn't know about the app. If you're not familiar with it, you can download it out of Apple Store, in your iTunes or however. I'm not an Apple person, so wherever you find your games and things like that, you can download the app for free there. You can go to Google Play Store and download it to your Android. And it's been revised just in the last few weeks, and it now has the 7-step worksheet that Michael uses. It's got the abbreviated worksheet that I use in the women's intensives. It has a Drag-On-Cling-On game, which is good for kids and adults alike. And it's where we have like 7 steps or the abbreviated. The Drag-On-Cling-On goes from A to Z, so it's the alphabet, and it gives them points. It's just like a game. It gives them points for answering the questions, and the more they answer and the more they're involved in it, the more points they get. And at the end of the game, it gives them their score. And so that's pretty fun, and it roars at you when you cancel goals and things like that. So that's pretty fun too. And then we've added the commitments to the app. So if you go there and download it to your phone, it's called Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness, and it's a kind of a glowing heart on top of the book is the icon. And then once you download it, you'll see mine and Michael's picture. It asks you to, the very first time that you go in, to put your name and your email, but then you have the option of clicking whether you want that information to be sent to us to add you to our mailing list. And if you don't click that, then we don't get it. And the only permissions that are on it is to use the internet. And then if you decide at the end of the worksheet or the game to download it or print it, it will ask you for permission to access your print mode in your phone. And those are the only permissions. We don't keep any of your information. It's totally private. And so you can tell that worksheet anything that you want to tell it. And it's totally private. It's totally yours. So Michael is still not with us. So somebody press 1 and help me out here instead of leaving me stuck. We are still looking at setting up the next intensives by Zoom. It's probably going to be with, we've got the holidays and all coming up. More than likely it's going to be early next year or maybe even spring. And we're waiting to hear from everybody what you're interested in. I will either do a women's intensive, or Michael will do Laws of Living, or he will do the Why Is This Happening to Me Again, followed by the teacher's training. And so those are the options for what we're looking at doing next online. The intensives are working out really well, and whereas at Heartland we house everybody and feed everybody, and you have to take vacation time from work or whatever. Doing it on Zoom, we furnish you with access to an app that was created in the first online intensive, which is phenomenal. Thank you, Urate. And she actually did, because the intensive lasted 14 weeks, she actually did 3 meals a day for 14 weeks. And she's got all that information, the recipes, pictures, and everything out there. And so that is available to you at the intensive. So you can participate in the food program to whatever level you want. None at all or fully. And it works out really well because we usually will meet on Sunday for several hours, and then we will meet again one evening, either Tuesday or Wednesday evening for a couple of hours. And so people are already home. They don't have to take time off from work, and it just works out better, it seems like, all the way around. And we're getting good participation, and the intensives are pretty full. And it's really cool because if you're not familiar with Zoom, everybody that logs in that's in the intensive, their picture is on the screen. So whereas in class you're sitting and looking at the front of the room, looking at Michael or the board, here you get to see everybody's face all at the same time as well as Michael. And he still does the board work and all of that. So it's working out really well. And so if you're interested in that, the only thing that we're running right now, if you go to our website and you can scroll down to events, and there are, because I'm working on the catalog, my computer didn't go to the right page. So if you scroll down to events, you'll see that there is the 90-hour self-study, Codependence to Interdependence. And you get access to all those videos. You also get 2 personal code evaluations and the access to the food program. And we also have private Facebook page group that you can be part of that and ask questions and everything. So that information is under events. And then also we now are doing the Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing monthly online membership. You can do it for 1 month, 3 months, or a year. And all of the information on that, plus the flyers, are under events, so you can download those. And if you're interested in either of those, please get in touch with us. You can either drop me a line at Jeanie, Jeanie, at whyagain.org, or if you have our phone numbers, you can call us. And Michael just walked in. Do what? I'm not sure what he said. I had both earplugs in. So I'm assuming he's getting ready to dial in. So, but anything that, you're looking for on the website, if you can't find it right away, please drop me a line at Jeanie@whyagain.org and let me know. And if you're interested in the intensives, let us know that. And if you're interested in an upcoming intensive, let us know what your interest is. And we will get back to you. We will do what we can to accommodate you and provide the support that you need. And this radio show is here to support you in your process. And I'll share one thing that came up. I shared this with our Mind Shifters group last Saturday, and it was a small group, but it was very powerful, I thought. And so I shared it with them then that a few nights we had been doing some breath work and working, like, Michael and I have been doing a lot of that lately. And one of the things that came up for me, it was really strange. It was like I was planting this grass and everything, and then this deer came along, and I didn't shoot it, but somebody shot the deer, and it fell at my feet, and it said, "Hold the space while you eat me." And, I mean, that was like such a shock because, I've been vegetarian since I met Michael, and occasionally I might eat salmon or whitefish or something, but not very often. But it was like, I don't eat red meat, and it almost made me sick when I came out of that state, and it was just like, what's the message in this? And I still haven't quite figured it out. And I know figuring it out is a pseudo solution, but I haven't got the answer to that one yet. But that was really strange, and it kind of stuck with me, and it's kind of left a weird feeling. So I'm still working on that. I've started writing my book again and working on the website, trying to get some changes done on it. We're in the process within the next couple of weeks hopefully of getting away from constant contact and being able to send our emails directly from our website, but we haven't got that worked out yet either. So lots of things in the fire, lots of things going on, plus we're doing gardening, and we're actually leaving this coming Sunday, and it's going to be grandparents weekend. It's Michael and myself and my dad, and then Aria, and then her other grandparents. She calls them Lala and Lolo. And so it's just us, and we're going to the Shenandoah Valley to Massanutten for a grandparents' vacation for a week. We'll still be doing the radio show. We'll still be here. But we'll be stepping away from some of the daily routine and just be having fun with the baby and with each other. And so we'll be doing that, getting a little bit of time away from the norm, I guess. And so anyway, welcome, Michael. I've about run out of things to talk about.
Well, thank you, sweetheart. Delighted to be here. Excuse me if I'm out of breath. I just went and unloaded about 250 pounds of. We have a friend that had some trees cut down a year ago, and so we got this awesome composted wood chips and chainsaw cuttings. And it was just one challenge. It was a 6-foot fence between the trees and the truck. So I had to haul it all up over the fence. So it took a little longer than expected. But I'm back. I respect farmers more every day when I look at what they do. I just finished unloading it all from the truck. Jeanie's got to take Dad to the doctor's this afternoon. So anyway, we're honored and delighted to be here, and we get to go to a new chapter in Why Is This Happening to Me Again? Although, if Dusty's on and he's ready to pick up and continue the conversation from Friday, we could do that. Is Dusty with us with a hand up? We played telephone tag yesterday, so you may not have been able to make it. Or pardon me, Friday. No, it was yesterday.
No, yesterday was Monday.
Monday, right, yeah.
We have, I believe this is him, 904, you're on the air.
That's Dusty.
Hello, hello.
Hey there, 904, aloha. ¿Cómo estás?
Yeah, aloha to you too. Yes, I think that you were talking about goals and if things about stress, reduce stress once you get the goal done. And my question was, what if you just have a certain kind of built-in personal stress resistance to that goal? I'll tell you, in my case, it's internet stuff. I just don't like doing it, but I have to do it. For instance.
Right. So, my offering would be that somewhere in your genetic history, when you load a goal, something that happens is that it works by the law of resonance. If I say don't think about the color of your car, then information about the color of your car comes out. People will sometimes say, well, I'm not thinking about it. It's like, well, what is it you're not thinking about? In order not to think about it, you had to think about it. It's resonance. So if you load a goal to do with, let's say, having to do something, in this case it sounds like having to do the internet, then, perhaps there's something in childhood about being forced to do something, or perhaps there's something about not being successful with technology or handling something, and maybe there's something from 10 generations ago about being introduced to something new, being forced to do it, and then having to pay some sort of a price for not doing it. And when you load a goal, because the goal has a frequency through the law of resonance, everything to do in our informational structure, and that includes our generational patterns, through resonance, moves into activity. Now, when that activity is finally all filtered out and it comes down to a 9-bit construct of the mind, that construct has as its root whatever the resistance, the pain, the fear, the sadness, the rage, the I just don't want to do it, whatever that is, is somewhere hidden in there. And the genius of the first century Aramaic forgiveness process is that when you create a stress with the goal and the response is something to do with resistance or fear or anger or, whatever it is, by canceling the goal, it's like the 9-bit construct called perception of the mind is kind of like the tower on top of the building. And everything underneath it leads to the support of that top structure. But you don't see everything underneath it in the top structure. When you cancel the goal that's driving the process, then that perception, that top of the structure, the steeple, so to speak, collapses in on itself. Now you can start to explore what's underneath it. And if it's got to do with some form of hostility or fear, it's an energy stored somewhere in tissue, and it's a disease. You can then access the disease energy by collapsing perception into its root, bringing forward the root in the presence of love, and that leads to dissolution. Then the resistance, the pain, the trauma, whatever it is going to disappear. Doesn't mean you're going to turn around and love doing whatever it was, but you'll be able to say no to it without that underlying, gut grind that happens. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand what you said, and I feel like there's some wisdom in that. And I could follow, my when you were giving your generalities there, and no, actually, I'm very good at technology, but I mean, my technology I was like king of the analog world. I had all these engineering licenses, and I was still doing that when the digital world came along, and I got a little behind. And
kind of like doing new math with an old math mind, right?
Exactly. I mean, I loved the analog world. I was thinking radio stations and ships at sea and things like that. And I was an RF engineer. And so, to be really honest, I do not trust this. There's something about the digital age that's not right. I understand you guys use it beautifully, and a lot of people use it beautifully, and there's a lot to be gained from it, and the benefits are just like right in your face. But underneath somewhere, just the fact that I feel like there's quite a movement that we can't see to control the main pipeline of the internet. And as I've heard, I guess it was several months ago, a little over 90% of all the commerce on the planet goes through the internet. And whoever controls the internet's got everybody. And I don't know.
That's true.
I was raised on a and I was raised on a farm. And by the way, welcome to the farm, buddy.
Yeah, there you go. I'm getting it.
Yeah. And one thing we used to have to do is when we had cattle, and when it came time to dehorn cattle or castrate them, wasn't my favorite thing, or just give them shots, we would put them in a corral, just like this country, for instance. We're in a corral, and shoe them all towards one end where there was just a single line, a single file, a single chute, and then as the steer or whatever would go along, we could drop a wooden kind of yoke over its head, and all of a sudden we had it. We could do anything we wanted to that steer if we want, and the next one behind
right.
it, the next one behind it. And I feel like we're all going down that chute, and we're all going, la, 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 isn't this wonderful? But I don't know. I have a sense of foreboding about that. Doesn't mean I shouldn't use it while it's usable, and I need to, and I get that. And just knowing that you guys are using it so well helps me a lot. But the whole, and I live here in a beach town, and I'm in the ocean most days. Nobody's in the ocean, except maybe a few surfers on a good day. Everybody's sitting there on the beach with their smartphones. Some of them don't even have their back to the ocean, and it's the digital, the drug. And I see that, and there's a part of me that just goes, and I kind of have to get through it somehow. So I'm because when I get into the internet, it's fun, but it's kind of mind-sucking, and 3 hours later you pull your head out of whatever you're doing and you go, oh yeah, where am I?
It might be good to do a worksheet or two around that. Of course, everything that comes along, there's the upside and the downside. We watched an interesting video the other night on. I didn't realize how big an artist Garth Brooks was.
Brooks.
And there's a thing on Netflix, Garth Brooks. There's a two-part film on Netflix called The Road I'm On, and it's awesome. One of the things he talks about, and he holds his hands up like his two palms are facing you, and he says, one of the wisdoms my dad gave me was that for everything, there's a good side, there's the good of it, and then he turns his hands around simultaneously, says, and then there's the other side, the bad side of it. And then there's always a downside to everything, but as long as there's that in you, there's a dis-ease energy, and you can do everything or not do what you're going to do and be rid of that dis-ease energy through forgiveness. You don't need to tolerate that. So you might do a worksheet or two around and just see what comes up, what shows up. And also when you're talking about the steers and the farm, if you haven't seen the film Temple Grandin, it's really excellent. It's about a severely autistic woman who is an absolute genius, and what she does, and a lot of what she does has to do with the way they handle cattle. And I'll just say that much about it. But it's a really personal, up-close movie into someone's life who they could have, the culture could have thrown away, but because she had some stick-to-itness and such, she actually got her PhD, and a lot of the way that cattle are handled today come out of this autistic woman's experience and how she got herself. Somebody brought it up, I think, last week or two on the show. She got herself through school. She actually was on a farm and saw them restricting cattle in order to do exactly what you're talking about, the devices they used to squeeze them. And after they were finished using it, she went over and got into it and closed it on herself and found that caressing, just that pressure on her, brought her to a whole new place of sensibility and ability. And she actually went to college and she built basically a cattle, I don't even know what they call it, whatever they do to hold the cattle. She built one in her dorm room. It's great, quite a stir in the school. But every time she'd go and upset, she recognized that she needed pressure. And so she'd get into this device that she built, and she'd close it down on herself, and it would calm her down, exactly the way it calms cattle down. That's a piece of information she gained, and then she learned by watching cattle how to move the cattle in a way that they became much more cooperative, were a lot less stressed, and therefore better behaved. It's a really interesting, sweet film. Temple Grandin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And with that background in the cattle industry, you'd probably really enjoy it, the way she interacts. And of course, she's this autistic person, and they want to just blow her off, but she kind of sticks to it, and all of a sudden they start seeing that this woman knows what she's talking about. It's pretty cool.
That sounds beautiful, and I can kind of relate that my little sister and I, our best friend for quite a while, because we lived out in a named Jeanie, and who was patient. Oh, I mean, just patient, just unbelievably so. We would climb on this cow, and if it was sitting down, we'd climb up to its like its shoulder blades, and you could slide right down its flank like a really neat slippery slide. And we would use the cow as a slippery slide. I recently. Go ahead.
No, you finish that one off.
Well, I was going to say, in fact, I composed a little song for my sister for her birthday, and in it I included the fact that we used to slide down old Jim.
The cow?
Yeah.
Cool.
She loved it.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a really interesting forgiveness story that I'd like to share, and it's interesting. The man who's involved was an old Ozark farmer named Jeanie, and his daughter actually got involved in the work. And Jeanie is in his 70s, he's pretty ornery, pretty hard on his family, been semi-abusive all his life, and she brings her family and asks if I'll do a Y workshop. Someone we became very friendly with, and so we had a very small gathering at Heartland at the Heart Center, and I did a Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop. And we're doing the worksheet. We hand out a worksheet, and everybody here do one, and Jim says, I don't have anything to do a worksheet on. And his daughter says, well, why don't you do a worksheet on milking the cows? And one of his pet peeves and a challenge for a guy who's in his 70s in the Ozarks, because the Ozarks are very hilly, his farm is in hill country. And he could, the cattle, and one particular cow, whose name was Betsy, would not come at milking time, would not come to the barn.
Yeah.
And he describes all the things he went through, like put a bell on Betsy, and Betsy would go hide out in behind the trees and wouldn't move, that sort of thing. So, okay, he's going to do a worksheet on Betsy. So he does the worksheet, and this guy, tough as nails, ends up in tears doing the worksheet. And when he cancels his need for Betsy to come to the barn to be milked, all of a sudden he gets the flood of memories about how when he was a small child, 6, 7, 8 years of age, he had a pet cow. It was his. He was a severely abused child. His father was a severe abuser, and his only friend was Betsy. And after his beatings, he'd go out and hang on to Betsy, hang around her neck, and that was his only friend and his only solace.
Yeah.
And he's got an older brother. Well, hold on, we're not to the story yet. The key to it all. So he's got an older brother, and his older brother's now in the cattle business. And this Betsy's getting old, and it's time to get rid of her, but it's his friend. And so his brother cons him and does some kind of a trade with Betsy. Gets Betsy from him, and of course sends Betsy off to the slaughterhouse. He doesn't know that's going to happen, and it just shatters him. So here he is now, it's 60-plus years later, doing a worksheet at Heartland, and this full-blown memory of his grief and his loss of his best friend, and that he killed her. That was his worksheet. That's what he processed through. That was on a weekday morning. He has to go home to milk the cows. He goes home, and for the first time since Betsy's been on his farm, and I don't remember, this goes back in our first year at Heartland, so it's 30 years ago. For the first time, and as long as he's had this cow Betsy, Betsy's at the barn door waiting to be milked. He never had to chase Betsy again to milk her.
Wow.
And to me, it's such a powerful picture of energetically, my summation of that would be, well, Jim, here you walked around with this belief that you killed your best friend, which is a cow. And isn't it interesting you named this cow the same name as you did with that childhood? And he had no memory of the childhood cow, no conscious memory. Isn't it interesting you named her that, and that you carry this energy that you're going to, I kill my friendly, my pet, my friend, and Betsy stays away. And the day he processes through that, and literally, from the time of that workshop, he passed about 5 years later. He never had to go find Betsy at milking time ever again. Like 4 or 5 years that he had that cow, beyond that experience. And that's the kind of energetic influence we have in the world. And actually, I wish I could find the letter, because he and his wife helped him write it, a really funny letter about, we put the bell on Betsy. And then Betsy goes and stands behind the trees and doesn't move. And it was just, very humorously written, but it was a very powerful worksheet for this man to do.
Yeah.
What kind of influences do our energetic patterns have?
That's a great story, and yeah, I can relate to taking one of your best friends off the slaughterhouse and how awful that can be, and so I think that's great that happened for him, and so the worksheet really sort of gives you frame of reference.
Say it again.
Right?
Your voice faded a little bit there. Say it again, Dusty.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My phone is weird. So a worksheet around something like, let's say, my resistance, which I'm getting through a little bit, but the internet is a bit of kind of. Would you say it was you kind of back up, take a look at the big picture, and then put things down in a particular order that are relevant, so you can see what's going on underneath and inside it better, or how to deal with it?
Well, actually, there's in our codependence workshop, we point out what I call the pseudo solutions of the non-being mind. And there are several, about a dozen of them that we lay out. But the number one pseudo solution is, if I could just figure this out. And putting it down in a way that now I can understand and figure out is not the idea of the worksheet. It's not about figuring it out. But just filling in the blanks with the details, being very precise. The more precise you are with the goal that you identify as you sit down at the computer. What is it? Is it goal, I want to get out of here? Is the goal, I want to be free of this? What exactly is the goal? And then really paying attention inside when you collapse that goal by canceling it, or pardon me, you collapse the perceptual construct that holds the resistance by canceling the goal. And when you do that, which is step 5, you cancel the goal, then you invite, support in for moving whatever the energy is about. Just really paying attention to the subtle energies that move inside of you. Now, sometimes it's blatant. Sometimes people get full-blown Technicolor movies of what happened. That's the source issue. Other times people just get sensations. Other times people just get an energetic relief. There's no particular insight. It's just like, well, I noticed that my life is a little happier. If I look back 6 months ago on a scale of 1 to 10, and I look at how my life was on a daily basis and happiness versus upset, I lived at a 3, and upset being, the highest levels of upset being down at a 1, and 10 being happiness. And, I've been doing them for 6 months, and I'm living at a 6 now. It's really changed. And so it's not necessarily what the mind wants of, I want to figure this out. Give me this piece of information so I know it. It's a shifting in the unconscious dynamics in the energy field. And it usually happens over time.
Yeah, I like what you said. And while you were saying it, all of a sudden, sort of like a veil lifted for me. and I realized that I'm focusing on the process rather than the goal. And the process is, this site, that site, this link to that, and I get, if I focus on that, I will not like it at all. But I realize that if I just do a laser focus on the goal, I'll just go right to it, and I'll love it.
Yep. It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's just so profoundly powerful that
it's powerful. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying it's just so when you allow yourself to just do the process, just go into it and do it, not figure it out, not think your way through it, just do it, and to watch the energetic shifts that occur. That one. Now, in that case with Jim, that was his first worksheet, and this is a guy who's set in his ways. He was so set in his ways that, about 5 years later, he actually called me and said, Michael, I'm having a heart attack, and I'm not going to the doctor, so I'm probably going to die, but is there anything that I can do? He was that kind of set in his ways. He wouldn't have anything to do with medicine, and he did die as a result of that event. But a guy who was so set in his ways and such a profound shift in his first worksheet. Now, that's not typical, although it's not uncommon. And as people allow themselves to deepen the process, we probably one of the most profound why workshops that we did was in Hawaii back about, maybe 10 or 11 years ago. We did a series in Hawaii at a Unity Center in Diamond Head. And we were going to be around the islands for another couple of months, and they asked us, and this is not usual for us, they asked us if we come back and do another Sunday service and another week of workshops, which we've maybe done that 2 or 3 times in the last 40 years. But we decided, and it was kind of tough because it was February by then, and we had to stay in Hawaii for an extra week and a half, 2 weeks. It was difficult, but we did it. But that second week of workshops, we had 3 different people that came to us that had been there, and I don't know, I think it was maybe 6 or 7 weeks earlier. We had 3 different people that came to us and said, I was ready when I saw you when you were here last time. I was planning my suicide. Wow. And I'm so delighted I didn't kill myself. I've got my life back.
Wow. That's huge.
It is. It's huge. And we'll get, somebody will come in, at the end of a week of workshops and hand us a note and saying, I came here Sunday and it was going to be my last time at this church, and I was here to say goodbye to people because I was going to kill myself. And I'm not. I understand what was going on, and I'm free of it.
Man, that's very inspirational. And again, though, I'm going to say this out loud because it's going to help me retain it. You were speaking earlier. You said some things that kicked some stuff loose in me, and I realized that I've been focusing more on the journey than the goal in the computer. In other words, I've been saying, the process, or something. It's very infantile, I suppose, but but I realized for me, I was a very good engineer, and he said, but I realized that out of these 4 things that I really need to get done on the computer, I'll just take one and get real clear on what you talked about, the structure underneath. I get real clear on exactly why I want to do this, what is this, and exactly what I want to do, and focus like a laser focus on that, and just go get it.
Yep.
Go do it.
I hear you.
And don't worry about the process. I think that's where I've been getting bogged down. And don't tell me what. I don't know exactly what you said to kick that loose. But thank you.
Yeah. Well, doesn't really matter, does it? The fact is, you got a piece of forward motion, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's great. Well, appreciate you dealing with that, and I think that's a great story about the Betsy and the farm. I can relate.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty powerful.
You can go out there and start lifting big bales of hay all day. I think that would be good therapy for you.
Thanks a lot. Jeannie's done that. You know, somebody in the family has to do things like that, and Jeannie's already done it, so I don't have to do that.
Oh,
go ahead, Jeannie.
I see.
I get it by vicarious atonement.
Right.
One of Jeannie's big complaints is that her parents waited until she and her two brothers left the farm before they went out and got an automatic baler. So, and I mean, you don't want to arm wrestle Jeannie to this day.
Here's the deal. Also, that thing that Jeannie said about the deer dropping and said, "Hold the space, will you eat me?" or something to that effect.
Right.
Well, Jeannie, how far away was this deer when it dropped?
It dropped right at my feet. And
that you were standing that close to it?
Yeah, it was really a strange visual.
Well, that's crazy that someone would take a shot and you're standing there. I don't get it. I mean, that's irresponsible handling.
That was
start with.
This is not. She wasn't sharing an actuality that happened. She was in a processing session doing some still point breathing, and this was a visual and a message that came to her.
Oh, I get you.
So it wasn't an actual somebody shot a deer that fell at her feet, but the two of us were still point breathing together, and she hit a still point, and that was the visual that came and the message that this deer gave to her as.
Well, that I've had things like that happen, and I can relate a little bit to the situation to be staring at, and I wish you well, and whatever message that was brought to you there, I hope that you can get it.
Thank you.
There, yeah. That sounds like a powerful thing. So, yeah. So anyways, you guys, thanks for your time.
Well, just an interesting piece of it. It was so powerful. When you go into a still point, when you're doing still point breathing, and that space opens up, and the energetic shifts that happen, and the messages that comes, it was so powerful for her that she probably hung over the side of the bed with her head over the garbage can for 3 or 4 minutes because she was ready to throw up. It was that physiologically impactful. I'm laying there like, what's happening, honey? What's happening? And she's just, I need to throw up. She didn't tell me at that point. She said, I knew that if I actually said the words of what just happened, I would throw up. And she was trying to keep from throwing up, but she was probably 3 minutes with her head over the side of the bed and the garbage can there to top check.
Wow, that's visceral. I can only say that if in my meditations, I do a lot of breathing, different kinds of breath, and quite often things come up to me during that process, but I've never had that particular experience. Wow, that's visceral. I'm amazed.
It's not unusual in the still point breathing process to have deeply profound. I mean, there's nothing that I've seen that even comes close to that. What happens when you hit the still point, when you use the still point breath and open to, it's monumental, the kinds of things that people touch into and go through that are visceral, that are sometimes visual, full-blown memories from childhood or, birth or, many different types of experiences. And the physiological, mental, emotional, energetic shift that comes from it is just mind-boggling.
Oh, well, I'm glad because, I mean, I do breathing, but I don't. I mean, any kind of breath work is good, but it sounds like your still point breathing is really working for a lot of folks, and I'm grateful. I've had to work the hard way to get my pranayama together.
Well, this is a process that I actually, in doing some breath work back about 40 years ago, was from the inside when I was doing some breath work, internally instructed to do, and then started to practice and work with people in it. And in the middle, when I'd be working with somebody and they'd go into a still point, I'd stop them and go, "What's happening?" And they'd have this whole story. And what I come to is that in the ancient teachings, when they said the veil of the temple must be rent in twain, the veil of the temple is not a purple curtain in a church, but the veil of the temple, this body-mind unit is the temple, and the veil is the barrier between the subconscious and the unconscious mind.
Right.
And you watch people when they're in trauma, when they're in resistance, when they don't want to feel, when they don't want to deal with something, they hold their breath. And they build literally a barrier that creates this artificial condition called an unconscious. I don't believe humans are designed to have an unconscious mind. If you talk to most psychologists, they'll tell you 80, 90, 95% of what goes on inside of us is unconscious for most people, and I think that's totally an anomaly. The veil is built with the breath. That's the instruction I got. And the veil, if the breath is used properly, is broken down by the breath. And you can access literally everything in your unconscious that's been hidden in your bloodline through that process. And that's the objective of it. And I've been working with people with that tool for the last 40 years now.
Oh, that's great. I'm really glad that you came to it that way. And I've thought it was such a gift in the creation of this human condition that we're given a breath that's voluntary and involuntary, and when we go into the voluntary mode of it and conscious at any level on it, it can be used so powerfully. I don't think most people have a clue how powerful still point or any good breathing technique is. Before I go, I just want to throw one little thing out there, just because I do kind of a nada yoga at the same time, in that I use sound along with the breath, and the sound helps me focus.
Internally produced sound, you mean?
Yes.
Sound you're making?
8 years old. Yeah, 8 years old on the farm. And the farm, I guess, about the time we were still sliding down gin, and the sun had gone down, and I heard this kind of sound. And of course, some people think they have tinnitus or something, and maybe some people do. I don't even understand that one. But I heard this high-pitched sound, and I went, wow, that sounds like an electrical generator or something. And I walked around the house looking for I thought my stepdad had put something in, a pump or something. I walked around that house so many times trying to figure out where that sound was coming from until I found it from inside me. And ever since then, it's not a burden. It's not this tinnitus thing for me. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know exactly what that may be, but to me, it's a gift. It's a particular sound current. You can read about stuff that there's literature that would give definitions of it as being part of the underlying energy of things. But that pitch for me, sometimes it's like F sharp or G or C sharp or I, different frequencies. I do music, so I keep track of that. But regardless of what that pitch is, I will emulate that pitch with my own voice as I do breathing and other.
Interesting.
And I mean, it really keeps my little happy wandering mind a little focused.
Right. Patrick sent me a link a week or so ago. He might have sent you as well of a guy doing Mongolian throat singing. What you just did sounded a little bit like. Did you see that video?
I did. That was phenomenal.
Was on AGT. Wasn't that awesome? But the sound you made sounded a little bit, reminded me a little bit about that Mongolian throat singer. And anybody who's listening, if you just put into YouTube Mongolian throat singer AGT, you'll find it. And the guy plays an instrument that's called, I believe it was a horsehair, and it's actually an instrument that the strings are made of horsehairs. It's a Mongolian handmade, homemade type instrument, and the throat singing, the voice is just amazing. So if you want to listen to something really cool, but the sound you made sort of reminded me a little bit about that Mongolian throat singing.
Right. And folks, this guy was making multiple. He could sing two notes at the same time.
Two notes at the same time. Amazing. Yeah,
and
amazing.
I thought at first he had an electronic processor to get that higher note. I mean, you know what I mean? It sounded just like that. Like he was running a little echo chamber and a reverb or whatever it was. And no, it was him. And we have those kind of things within us. And
apparently I did a little bit of research on that, and apparently it's one of the most difficult art forms that there is this Mongolian throat singing. There's actually another AGT a person who sings on AGT, and everybody but what's his name, the head judge, gets
Simon.
Or say again, Jeanie.
Simon.
Oh yeah, Simon. Simon understands it. He's got the intelligence and the education to understand what he's hearing. The others basically make fun of him, and the audience laughs. It's really actually sad. The judges, the other three judges, really dropped, in my estimation, tremendously. The way they just made fun of this guy who was. I mean, I didn't particularly like what this other guy did, but I respected the fact that he could do this art form, and it was amazing. Not as good as the guy we're talking about, but it was kind of an interesting hit on this art form that has been developed in Mongolia. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and and I'm not so good at doing a 3-part harmony all by myself.
I understand that one.
The funny stuff is most people are visually oriented, and I think I have a real high acoustic sensitivity, and which I'm glad.
Awesome. Anything else on your mind today, sir?
Well, I was just going to thank you for the your talk about worksheets and when I was talking about my resistance to this internet thing, and just the fact that I got to talk about it a little bit and listen to you, and all of a sudden I realized kind of where I was getting bogged down. And
sweet.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. We're doing our job then, and that's awesome. I'm delighted that you got an opening there. And who knows who else is listening that got an opening from it, or maybe we'll listen to the show in the archives in the future and get an opening from it. That's the whole objective of everything we're doing here. So thank you for saying thank you.
Okay. Catch you later. Bye.
All right, my friend. Blessings. Take care. Bye-bye. And Miss Jeanie, we're down to about, 6 minutes, 5 minutes? Do we have anybody else in the chat room with anything happening, or anybody on the phone queue with a hand up?
No, it's all quiet, so probably by the time you do the reading, it'll be just about over.
Well, I guess I'll do some reading then. I was wondering whether to kick that in. So we're now on chapter 19. If you're following along with us in the book, it's page 129 in the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And What You Can Do About It. It's a book that is out of print, but if you go to Amazon or to eBay, you can always find lots of used copies on their sites. And or you can go to our website, whyagain.org, and you can download it free in any one of several languages if you want to follow along with us. So chapter 19 is entitled Inherited Patterns. As Richard and I reviewed some of the family dynamics, processed several issues he had with his mother, I suggested that it might be valuable to consider that his mother probably came by her behavior, her off-the-mark patterns, the same way he did. He acknowledged that she very likely never saw what she did as abuse, but rather as a way to protect yourself, as he had. Abuse, I said, is one behavior that tends to be transmitted from generation to generation. Facing and processing through the abusive patterns is the best way, I know, to stop the behavior from being passed on to our children. This work is about taking on the generations for the generations. What you don't deal with will be passed on, and what you're willing to face, sort out, and heal will no longer infect family dynamics. The pattern then stops with you. Now, there are two perspectives on that. If you already have children who've been infected with some of those dynamics, to utilize that term, then as you work through those issues, I don't care. You might be 60, and there was a gentleman I talked to, a couple of actually had been in an intensive a while back, and they were up in their 70s, and a few months after getting back home, and the man in the couple, who was a very, well-spoken, well-mannered, well-cared for, a caring man. But the daughter, one of the daughters of this gentleman, commented that something was different about her dad and thanked him for being available to her for the first time in her life. And so as he worked through some of those issues, and the issues were those of his father not being available to him, all of a sudden he became more available to his daughter. So even though his daughter was an adult and had lived through that, she recognized the shift in him, and the shift in him made for a shift in her. Now, of course, he's not in a position where he's going to have another child at this point, but suppose he were, he could have been in his 40s, and suppose he were to have another child. If he's worked through that, then the genetic component is not passed to, my offering would be, the next generation. The energetic pattern has been resolved and therefore is not within the field to be passed on. And the fact that he worked through the issue with a child who was already born, it opened the space for the child, who's now an adult, to acknowledge. And I don't know, I'm not privy to conversation beyond that, but I bet, and this woman had children of her own, I bet she was a different mother when she went home from that experience with Dad. So the way these patterns impact behavior and generations, and so we're going to be looking deeper and deeper into this whole idea of generational patterns. So Richard responds to me, does that mean my daughter has the same issues I do? You mean if I heal, she won't have to deal with them? It's very probable that she grew up reacting in some way to the same issues as you do. I'd be willing to bet that you have unintentionally treated her in a similar fashion to the way your mother treated you. And this is the way those generational patterns are passed on, and forgiveness is the way those generational patterns are ended. And we're here to support people feeling safe enough, touching into the empowerment within themselves to be able to literally And you can think of this, if you think of fireworks, about literally being able to expand out energetically and throw off these energetic patterns, become free of them. And that's kind of the bottom line of why we're doing what we're doing. And we appreciate having the opportunity to do it with you. And if you want to tap into the archives, you can just go to whyagain.org and scroll down, and you'll see a microphone. Click the microphone, and you can drill down to today's show and download a copy of it. Pass it on to somebody else. Appreciate you being with us. Create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world, and blessings.